Okay, so good evening, all of our friends. Good afternoon in some other places of the world. Good night, or whichever time of the day it might be, wherever you are in the world. But wherever you are, we hope that this message reaches you. And tonight I think is a very important message or talk. One of the sort of recovery cliches or terms or stories that stick out for me in this case is that and it's a classic case, I think, of the way I've seen and heard Mr. Hall do his recovery. Is that the founders of Alcoholics Anonymous, the one founder's wife or co-founder's wife, he came home one day after being sober for quite a while, and he said, he said to his wife, these meetings aren't working. And at that stage, he had started a couple of meetings already, and he was carrying the message. He was serving other people, and what then happened was he said to his wife, "Hey, this isn't working." And he sat there quietly, and her response to him was that it is working. It might not be working for the people that he's trying to carry the message to, but she said to him that it is working because he's staying sober. And I think that's the classic example of what I've heard with Mr. Hall's story, and his sobriety, and the way he's lived it, and the example that he's been, and to what works. And I know in some countries in the world that is still a sort of reachable amount of sobriety. But I'll be honest, in South Africa, 14 years, 11 months is sober is quite a rare occurrence, and so I listen to what he has to say in the hope that I would get there one day. And so far it's working for me, doing what he's done. So a good evening all again. We've decided to make it a little bit earlier tonight, as we obviously run a recovery center as well, and it's a little bit colder in South Africa, and also just to try and accommodate the people that are maybe busy at 8 o'clock. So we changed the times a little bit, and then so welcome all. I'm going to hand it over to Mr. Hall now, and I hope that you get something out of it, and that it can reach the right people. That's why we ask addicts and non-addicts, or anybody can share our videos, not to put us in the public eye, but just to maybe get the message across to somebody, because obviously over the years and times, and an experience has proven that we can only carry the message, and the better we can do that and spread the message, the more hope there'll be. So so obviously, because we're running a recovery center and things as well, and things happen, and all of that, these are the people that are our priority. So Mr. Hall is just finishing up with them at the moment, and then he'll be with you. I don't want to bore you guys, but okay, here we go. Here's Mr. Hall. Now I think that you'd enjoy the story more. Thanks, everyone. Good evening.
My glasses. Good evening, all. From wherever you are sitting, we're in Worcester and it's a bit cold. Sure. Thank you, Kurt, for that introduction. It's good to be sober on this cold evening, and it's good to have my mom here. You know, Curtis said that we don't want to do war stories and my life story and that because, Richie, I just scored a lot of NCs, a lot of NCs. But anyway, how did it start? So if I go back, and in 2005, I stopped drinking, and after that, good evening, Craig. After 2005. I had to, make that decision because I'd got to that point of being completely and utterly, I was done, I was gone, I was over. And I then went to Alcoholics Anonymous, where I had been for when I was 25 years old. And I went for the next 2 years, I went to AA every single day. I kept a diary of going to the meetings. Sometimes I used to go to 3 meetings on a day. In the afternoon, at 3:15, I'd go to like Elsie's River. At 5 o'clock, I would go to the one they had in Athlone. And then on 8 o'clock, I would go to the one in Rondebosch or the one in Durbanville. So I just immersed myself in recovery. I read recovery books. I read recovery books. I just wanted to stay sober, and I was willing to go to any lengths to go sober. When I opened up my painting business, we had a guy with me, Marius, and they were tough days because my dad wouldn't enable me anymore. When I was working at that free play radio in Montague Gardens, hey, if it rained, my old man said, no, I'm not going to help you. You're going to walk. You've had it all. You've messed it up. Back to where you come from. So we opened up a painting business, Marius and I, and we used to walk far. We used to walk from Brooklyn, from the paint supplier we had then, before we had the paint supplier, Uncle Louis in, Uncle Louis in Woodstock. And we used to sometimes walk from Brooklyn to Plattekloof Glen to paint a house. Now, you must understand, I'd never painted a house before because I didn't like my hands to get dirty. So, how it started was that, obviously, when you're drinking and drunking and all those kind of things, I was unemployed. So my late auntie said to me, Anthony, please come paint my house. So I said to Auntie Shirley, I've never painted a house. I don't even know how to hold a paintbrush, but we'll give it a go. So we gave it a go, and we took our time, and I didn't know the difference between acrylic paint like Richie does and Velveglow, nothing like that. And then one day, while I was painting this house, because I always believe that and I've always believed that it's God, He's the master of the clock. It's His time. When it's done on His time, when it's done on His time, then things will get done. And this lady came walking across, and she wasn't like a hot number that I would now suddenly start trying to impress her like Richie did with Joni. And she said to me, is this your painting business? So I said, yes, no, this is my painting business. So she said, I knew nothing about these kind of things. So I went around, I checked the house, and I said, okay, it's going to cost you, worked out the quote, it's going to cost you so much. But such was the dedication of Marius and I that we grew from there. We bought a little bucky, and we grew. And at the end of the day, that I had a very successful painting business after knowing nothing about painting. Coming back to to AA, I was going to all the meetings. I was going to all the conferences. I was 9 months sober when I was invited to speak at the national conference of AA in Port Elizabeth. I went to go and tell them my life story, and things just got lekker from there. And then on the 21st of September in 2007, a journalist contacted me and wanted to do a story on my life. So I said, okay, no problem. And I met her, and we sat down, and we started talking about my life. And I believe the Holy Spirit came in there, and he said, no, Anthony, wait, hold it. It's not about you. It's not about you. Change this whole thing. So I said to her, I don't think it's about me anymore. I'm going to open an organization. So she says, what do you mean? So I said, I'm going to open up an organization for families, for addicts, for people who want to learn, people who want to study, people who want to know about addiction. And she said, what are you going to call it? And I said, I'm going to call it, well, I'm a recovering alcoholic, enjoying life, so I'm going to call it RAEL. That's how RAEL was born, in a coffee shop in Buddhism. And it was amazing. And the next day, the headlines were of the paper, I've still got it, where RAEL's opened, and it was on the poles, and the big signs. They're good for the ego in that stage, because the ego was heavy. And then I opened it, and for the next, from 2007, I got married sometime way around there, not to Karen, to another lady, and RAEL was going well, my painting business was going well, but all I was doing at RAEL, I set up 5 support groups, free support groups. So I would go and give, Monday to Friday, I would go and give meetings all over the peninsula. So we had regular places like Edgemead, Parkwood, the Haven, the homeless haven. So people got to know us, and we got to know them, taking flame, if you want to say that. And this is all by God's grace. Curtis asked me, and other people have asked me, just to give a bit of history. So tonight I'm giving a bit of history on my anniversary. But it's not about me. Let's just all get this all like for one time straight out. It's by the grace of God. That's it is. And that's not falsely by the grace of God. It's by the grace of God. I'm just a servant. And a servant doesn't mean that you have to be a wussy in life. A servant is a servant to help the people who are coming in. And so we continued. I did all these things, and then I would be giving talks at schools. I had a lot of media coverage. Any Coke there, Kurt? Not the one you sniff, the one you drink? Because we've got Richie watching, and when he heard the word Coke, I just saw his phone move out there. And the media coverage helped that for the invites, wherever I was invited to go and talk. It was corporates, it was churches, it was mosques, it was the police forums, you name it, I spoke at it. And mainly the schools. I love speaking to the schools, and I love speaking to the youngsters. And that took me up to about 2008. My then wife, I've been married a couple of times, that's obviously, it's an honest program when we want it to be. And hi, Duncan. My wife came to me the one day, and she said to me, with all this newspaper exposure, and I'd had a couple of TV shows and that, which was good for the ego then, but that came a bit later when the ego left her. But in the beginning, you're on TV not all the time, a lot of the times, and it can be very dangerous. It can be very dangerous if you don't keep yourself, I wouldn't even say humble, but just on the ground, completely on the ground. And my dad passed away, and I was 2 years sober in 2007. I gave the eulogy for my father at the church, and it was wonderful that his son could, like me being the son, could give the eulogy. But I told the church people, I said, I am the least qualified to speak here on my dad's behalf after all I did to my mother and my father. I'm the least qualified. And I gave them a bit of my history because they already knew it, most of them. So I had to set the platform for why I am speaking there. And then 2008, never forget it, on Christmas Eve, my wife said, with all this publicity, she was a very wealthy woman, and she came from a very wealthy family. And she said, my dad can set you up for life, but would you consider closing RAEL? And they have tea parties, they discuss, and too many people are talking about it, and the family get a bit embarrassed and all this shit. That was Christmas Eve, 2008. So Christmas Day, 2008, I packed my bags, and I left to go home, and I went home to my mom, my wife again, and to this day, 12 years later, I've never seen her. We got divorced, and that was the end of that chapter. Because I know if I'd put them before my recovery, I'd be back in the gutter in no time. I would have been able to keep the pose up for a while, but not for long. Not for long. Because we can, us addicts can keep the pose up, but you can't keep it up for long. So then things started developing. The support groups, they were packed. Sometimes there were 90 people at a support group. But before that I failed to mention is that for 2 years, I used to go with my sponsor to Clara Clinic and give the meetings there on a Monday night and on a Thursday night. So my whole life was based on recovery. There wasn't time for many other things. They were based on recovery. Come 2000 and we carried on 2008, 2009, 2010. I used to go do interventions at people's houses with their family members who were addicts. I'd drive one day in the morning. I would do an intervention in Fishhook. Then I would do one in Belleville. Then I would do one in Durbanville. And it was all free of charge. And then one day I was driving through to Worcester before we had this farm. And I said, hey, God, where is this going to? I couldn't really picture. I knew what I wanted. I had a constitution written up about a small farm, what my dream was, the whole trip. I wanted the farm even when I was drugging and drinking. And then we got to the point of a lady phoned me and she said to me, can you help my manager? And how strange it was. She was looking for a Woolworths. So she turned off at Edgemead, went to Woolworths and saw our advert for the free sponsorships that we and free meetings that we gave, and she phoned me, and I missed her call, and I phoned back, and I got her manager into a rehab in Durban, and 2 weeks later she phoned me and she said to me, Anthony, what is your dream? So I said, no, my dream is to have a little small holding on the farm. Hi, Gertrude. Gertrude named my dog Tyson, my original Tyson, because she was my bottle store manager. So we would come in there in the morning and get a six-pack because we didn't like warm beers. And then Gertrude would give us the beers. And most times she would give us credit until we could pay. And then the one day I walked in there with Tyson. He was small. Tyson was small. And Gertrude said to me, Anthony, have you given the dog a name? What are you doing with this dog? I said, well, we just bought the dog. Have you given it a name? So I said, no, we haven't. And she said, okay, name it Tyson. And it turned out to be a legend of legends. So getting back to that story, the lady says to me, Denise Levy, a wonderful person, a beautiful person. And she said, what is your dream? And I told her. And then one day she said to me, about a week later, Anthony, come, I want to take you for a drive. I normally would have said no if a woman had asked me to go with for a drive because, okay, let's not go there. Okay, and so we took a drive and we came out to Rawsonville and we drove into these gates and she said, what about this place, Anthony? Would that suit your dream? I said to her, cheapers, Denise, I can't afford this. So she says, no, for the next 4 to 5 years, I'm giving it to you to use. Their God had opened a door for me in seconds. It was unbelievable. We moved in here, and obviously Karen was with me, and Karen played a massive part in, because most of you know that we are divorced or on divorce, is that Karen played a massive part in setting this place up. She set up, she's very handy. She was hands-on. I did the dig and she did the just basically setting the whole place up. So on the 1st of May, our first customer came in because I'd given a talk at a Rotary Club, and a woman dropped her brother off or a cousin off at the end of the road and said, walk down the road, you'll find a place called RAEL. And then we had no bungalows here, we had no nothing. And he walked in, he had nothing, they had no money, and we sponsored him from the word go. And that is what has made RAEL successful. even if I must say so for myself, RAEL became successful because we were givers. We weren't takers. I can tell you categorically now that there is no other organization in the world that is meant to be like a rehab like we are, or even, okay, let's just talk about South Africa, that sponsors as many people as we do. That is what we're not here to become very rich. I could charge very high prices at this place, but then I lose what I did, what I wanted to do in my life. This meeting, this RAEL was started in memory of my nephew that hung himself through drugs. So I had to keep his legacy alive, and I promised to keep his legacy alive, and I kept his legacy alive. So eventually we moved in here, people started coming in here, more invitations, ENCA came, and this is not bragging, please don't get me wrong, people. If you want to know the history, I'm giving it to you. ENCA came here and they did a documentary on my life. Swedish TV came and did a documentary. China TV, we wouldn't have allowed them in now, but you know what I mean. China TV came in and did a documentary. We did a lot of activism. I was a lot in Parliament. I was a lot giving talks on radios, giving talks on different TV shows, and things were going like really well. You know, we were picking up, and I would say that the turning point came was when it was getting fuller and fuller, and the name was getting out there, and you had to look after your name, and you had to carry this message, and the only way I could carry this message was the way the message was carried to me, and the message was carried to me in a very hard way. My sponsor who took me into sobriety was a very hard man. Lovely man, a beautiful man, but hard man. No time for bullshit, man. You either want this or you don't want this. If you don't want this, go out and drink and go out and drug. And that's what's happening a lot to our families today. That the kids are taking control. Hi, Garth. Hi, Teresa. That the kids have taken control of the home. So the mother and the father become the hostages in the home. The kids take control. They walk through the middle as mom and dad are arguing, and they actually have the run of the house. Come 2000 and, well, now I can't remember exact dates. I got an invitation to go speak to go and address Founders Day in the United States. And I went to America, I went to Ohio. I spoke there in front of people. And after that, I flew to New York, where I addressed a meeting at the founder of Alcoholics Anonymous at his office. Okay, he's obviously long dead. And sitting behind his desk and on his chair, it was beautiful. It was a wonderful experience. And since then, I've given talks to a support group and rehabilitation center in Bali, in Israel, in a bunker in Israel, in Australia. I've given a talk on my life story. So sobriety has been good to me. But I worked bloody hard for my sobriety. And then today when I see what youngsters are doing, when they've got this golden opportunity, because my father would never have sent me to a rehabilitation center. He wasn't going to waste his hard-earned money on this drunk who never listened. Spare my feelings, save my life. Same as when my old lady who's lying in the room next door, you're all looking pretty. Prison. She didn't put me in prison because she hated me. She put me in prison because she loved me. And she loved me to the point because she didn't want to see her son just fall apart. Because she was seeing her son actually killing himself in front of her. Then we go to things that I started, with all humility, I'm telling you this. In 2009, I woke up one morning and I said, hey, there isn't a day. There's a day for cancer. There's a day for cleavage day. There's a day for transgender day. All those days, but there's no day for addiction day. So in 2009, 21st of February, I founded World Addiction Day. And that's now going on for 11 years. We've had guest speakers from people who were captured in the Philippines. We've had Solly Philander. We've had the mayors. We've had members of parliament, James Voss, he spoke at the first one we had in Zevenwacht. And on the 21st of that. Then we started the World Day of Prayer. That was 2010, 4th of April, where we asked people to pray for addicts. Not only addicts in recovery, but addicts out there. Those are the ones who are still suffering and the ones who are still not listening. And then in 2015, I started the free campaign, RAEL Orange Friday, to create awareness and to create awareness about addiction and remove the stigma. That has been mentioned in Parliament. It's been mentioned in various newspapers, on TV, and it's got a lot of coverage. And that is, it's free. That is to carry the message that we're just not bad people. Addicts aren't bad people. Addicts are sick people who want to get well. We are not bad people. Hi, Jill. And so that was Orange Friday. And then the most amazing thing happened 4 years here on the farm, 5 years, when Denise contacted me and said, okay, Anthony, now what we're going to do? Are you going to buy the farm or whatever? And I just put a thing on Facebook there. Hey, it's D-Day tomorrow. Love you, Richie. And a guy by the name of Miles October contacted me many years ago. And he said, would I please give a talk? Hi, Claire. Hi, Tosca. Would I give a talk? Because he has got Play Sport for Life to his youngsters. Because some personality, a very well-known personality, wanted 30,000 for the talk. So I said, yeah, I'll go give the talk, but it's free of charge. And this is how it evolved. He was at the World Cup. And he said to me, what is this about? So I said, Miles, we have to buy this place. Otherwise, we're gone, we're over, we're done. And he said, can I meet you there tomorrow? And he met me. And Denise Levy gave me her shares of the business, of the farm. And Miles bought the other percentage. So between Miles, October, and Denise Levy, I can never say thank you enough. I can never say thank you enough. They gave me my dream. They gave me my dream. With a lot of hard work, God really came in there, and looking back on the time that we've been on the farm and the time we've been on the farm now for 9 years, a lot of people have got sober. There are obviously people who chose the other route. There are people who chose the route of not listening, of not wanting to listen. You're going to get enabled, but you're only going to get enabled by your mother and your father till a point. I'm not going to enable you, because if you enable an addict, you bury an addict. So I will be doing no enabling here. There'll be a lot of love here on this farm, and that a lot of people can testify to. There's a lot of love on this farm. I give my whole life for this farm. I live here. This is my life. And I work with it from the morning till sometimes late at night. But don't come and waste our time, man. Don't come who really want recovery. This is a place, if you want recovery, you're going to get recovery. You're going to get a lot of love. But don't think that love can be abused. Don't think I'm loving you. And there's an old cliche that says, we will love you until you learn to love yourself. Now, we will do that. We will do that. But don't come and play games with another man's recovery. Because there's other men in this who sit here in sobriety, who hunger for sobriety, who want sobriety. I remember one guy came here, Dominic Fernandez. His mother is and she's very open about it, so it's not a problem. His mother is the Minister of Social Development. They didn't give that boy a chance. There's many. Big Justin, Garth. These people were, Kurt Schuller. These people weren't given a chance, man. The world had written them off. Andrew Brown. The world had written these people off until they came here and they fell under the grace of God. Teachership, if that's the right word, of people that cared. People that have walked down the same road. People that know what it is like People that know what it is like to go to prison. People that know what it's like I was almost 2 years homeless. We can't play Mickey Mouse. We can't go to psychologists and psychiatrists, because when I used to go to psychologists and psychiatrists, all I did was bullshit them. That's all I did. I just bullshitted them, because I wanted them to know what I wanted them to know. That was it. But when you come and you're sitting with 30 addicts, you can't bullshit a bullshitter. And you can't con a con man. So then we use our way of thinking, and we already know where you are because we've been there. We've been there. And so when coming up to being allowed the opportunities to travel overseas and go and give these talks overseas, it's been a wonderful experience. It's been, I've received things from various countries of thanks, and I've had a lot of people support me. That has been the main thing, because people ask me, what do you want, Anthony? What do you need? Prayer. Prayer. Because God will add everything onto our lives that we want, if we're doing the next right thing. And when the next right thing gets done, the next right thing will always happen. Now, people have said to me, hey, Anthony, you're a very hard man. Yes, very loving man. But I think sometimes we differentiate the term hard and just straight to the point. I'm just straight to the point. Because I know what I had, I know what I got, and I know that I don't want to lose it. Because if I lose it, I know where I'm going to. I'm either going back to the streets, I'm going back to prison, or Anthony Hall is dead. So I must look after myself. And we must get realizing and get to the point to realize that, hey, hold it. We can all find recovery. There's no man or woman that hasn't come or that I have dealt with that hasn't found recovery if they want to find recovery. In the last couple of years, I've been flown around the country, and I say this with God is good, Diane. Flown around the country by the grace of God, and the guys know I can't bullshit you, man. I'm not here to praise myself. These things bloody happen, so what must I do? I must just tell you the way it happened. You know what? So maybe it can inspire anyone else. That's why they can inspire anyone else. And I've been right around this country to go give interventions at different houses. It taught me, going in there thinking, hey, this is exactly how I used to treat my parents. This is exactly how I used to treat them. And then you hopefully will see a difference. I just find today that our young men are not that hungry because mom and dad are still the safety net. They're not that hungry for recovery. They don't want to do it at all costs. They're not prepared. They're not prepared to sacrifice 6 months or whatever it takes to find a new life. They want a quick fix. They want 2-minute noodles. You don't get 2-minute noodle recovery. There isn't a thing called 2-minute noodle recovery. We've had people here from Switzerland, people here from Namibia, and it's good to get the outside people, but my belief is that the charity must begin at home. I can't go run a 3-week place for 80,000 rand because it can never work. You may get the odd one, but it doesn't work, because we have to work. Recovery works. We may look good on the outside, but recovery works from inside out. So the filth, the garbage, has to come from inside out. And once we leave the place or leave a institution or rehab or whatever you want to call it, the garbage can must be clean, and the garbage can must be ready. Must be ready. The toolkit, our toolbox, must be new. Then we can go and face life. And when we walk out there, we must know that we've got the support of other people. That we've got the support of people at our backs, people who love us. My mother, with my mother being here now on the farm, it's incredible. She's got her carers, she's got people to look after her. I can pop in, it just takes me 15 meters to walk into my mom's room, and I just see if my mom's okay, chat to her a bit, she goes to sleep. My mom is old. But if something happened to my mother, I would never have been able to see my mother while we got this lockdown from Mrs. Zuma, my best friend. So I would never have seen my mom again if something had happened to her. So that's why I made the decision. Now, if I was lying drunk like I normally was, how could I make those decisions? How could I make those decisions? Now we can make decisions and things that used to baffle us, we can now make sound decisions. So I made a very sober decision. Bring mom home. Even if it means going to lawyers, going to court, do whatever. And God was so on our side that we did it. And Dr. Rihanna de Toy played a massive part in it by giving a letter that I don't know how she conned the letter, but it was brilliant. And for all you nosy people, that is my partner. So life has taken a new turn for me. 56 years old, getting to a new, a new relationship, taking my inventory. I can't take anyone else's inventory, taking my inventory. The farm is full. We still sponsor a lot of people. I still do a lot of activism. I believe I'm a born activist. I put my neck out there sometimes, and sometimes it gets cut off, but that's okay. I go out there, and I've always, what my dad taught me, Anthony, always my boy. I'll never forget this. Anthony, always my boy. Fight for the underdog. And that's what I think I've done my whole life. If someone comes in here and they say, this person can never make it. Well done, Keith. This person can never make it. That gives me more of a challenge. It's like my dogs. 80% of my dogs here are from the shelter. And they're all coming here and they trip. 5 of them are lying here now, on their blankies, everything. And we got a latest one, Eddie. Now, Eddie reminds me of Kurt Schuler. Because everything you tell Eddie, I'm talking about Kurt Schuler, the old Kurt Schuler, not the Kurt Schuler now that's sober, don't get me wrong. Every thing you tell Kurt Schuler, you'd have a kakskelem, and he was just one of those, didn't want to listen. But Eddie's been through a hard life. Not Kurt didn't go through a hard life. Kurt went through his own hard life. Comes from beautiful parents. Lovely mother, lovely father, lovely sister. He's got a girlfriend today. He's got a bubba. He's got a motor vehicle. He earns a very good salary. I pay him too much, but that's okay. He's worth it. So that man has walked with me in different ways for the last 14 years. Kurt Schuler and I don't know each other from yesterday. I've known Kurt when he was first on my farm. I know him when he left on my mother's birthday 3-4 years ago, just to go test the waters. And now he's back for over a year, and he's the best manager I could ever have had. He's got my back. He's intelligent. He's sharp. He knows addiction. He knows addiction recovery. He doesn't take shit. He loves his mother. He loves his father. He loves his children. He loves his girlfriend. He's got a lot of love to give. Now, if you take that, and even if I think back now, I think back to Richard, just on this celebration, I'm talking about it now. Because that's enough about, they reading a book, but it's taken a time because I believe the last chapter must still be written. But if I take people that I speak to and that I see, like I remember Tosca. I got beautiful memories on this farm. I've had musical festivals here. And I remember Tosca with Big J phoning me like all the time. And then we were new in this place and saying to me, Mr. Hall, how's it going with Big J? Well, since you phoned like 4 hours ago, nothing's much changed. Big J is still Big J. And I remember Big J coming in here because he's a big boy. Full of tattoos, not throng tattoos because he didn't go that far. Big boy. And now this woman loved him unconditionally. And then when I see the photographs of him and the children, and him and Tosca getting married, that is what makes my life. No money, I've got money. No money can ever buy that. Richard Ferreira, same thing, going from the streets, man, to wearing his Springbok colours again this year. Meeting up with a beautiful girl, Joni. Together they're living in their own flat now. Nothing must ever be measured by what people say. Let the people be your measure. Let your people be your measure. They success stories. Garth, Alario, had no chance. People gave him no chance. He's doing well. He's early in recovery. He must stay on these meetings, go to meetings. Remember, there's no meetings to go to at the moment. And look how well that man is doing. His mother, Jean, phoning me all the time. But today he's coming right. Andrew Brown, coming right. Don't play with recovery, man. Don't think you can go out one night and have one drink or one drug and we're going to say, okay, we're going to stop tomorrow. Don't come talk shit to me, man. If we're not going to work and work on ourselves and work on our recovery at all times, there's only one thing that can happen to us, and that is to relapse. Nothing else. We didn't come to sobriety to look for a wife. But do your sobriety properly, you'll find a wife. It's so simple. You didn't come into sobriety to get a job. But do your sobriety properly and you will find a job. If we're doing the next right thing, the next right thing will happen. But don't rush it and say, well, I'm not going to go into recovery unless I got my wife back, I got a car, I got a house, I got this. Don't talk nonsense, man. My life. First, look after yourself. Take the garbage, clean house. Clean house at all times. And then the most important thing, besides trusting God, is to carry this message to the still suffering addict and alcoholic. And I'm telling people here that are addicts, non-addicts, families, whatever. But to the addict who's come through recovery, never ever turn your back on any man or woman that asks you for help. Never say you're too busy. Never say, oh, I haven't got time now, I'll do it tomorrow. Because tomorrow may never come for that person. Never do that. Never do that. Respect from the men on this program and the people that have come through my hands. They know what I talk about when it comes to respect our mother and father. Respect your mother and father at all times. It doesn't say in the Bible, respect your mother and father only if they buy you a new car. Don't talk crap, man. Respect your mother and father at all times and your life will be long. Because what have our mothers and fathers given up for me and you? How much of their lives have they given up for me and you? They've given their lives to see their sons and their daughters sober. They've prayed every night so that their sons and daughters would be sober. My mother prayed for me to get sober. I'm the result of a prayer of a mother. And there's so many mothers that I meet that are just praying for their children. There's so many of our friends, our brothers and sisters that today live on the streets through drugs and alcohol. Never look that blessing in the eye. I looked at that blessing in the eye when I was 25 years old and I was 2.5 years sober and I relapsed. I got bigger than the game. 17 years of hell. 17 years of living on the streets for 2 years. 17 years of being in prison. 17 years of pain that I was giving my mother and my father and my friends. I was on a path to destruction of everything and everyone. Until God put that glass down, or that bottle, on the 28th of June, 2005. Yes, it's going to be wonderful. God spares me to celebrate 15 years next year. This drunk, saved by grace, no one gave a chance. My one brother waited for 10 years to come and see me, because he wanted to make sure that I wasn't playing games. I lost 10 years of being with my brother. Like I said, I've buried my father. I was 2 years sober. You've buried my nephew, after which RAEL was started. And sadly, I've buried a lot of men that I either knew personally or came into this rehabilitation center, that I had to go and speak at their funerals. And at the one time, I was so angry at the funeral because I could see the pain of the parents. It was in Springs. And I said, just leave the frame there. Take out the picture, because that frame will be filled by someone else very soon. There is no help. And this is sadly, and that's why I sponsor so many people by the grace of God, because God gives, even Dr. DeToy, Rihanna DeToy, you've seen her with me. She comes to treat the people here and look after them, because it's the love for your man, fellow man. The absolute love for a fellow man. I'm never going to sit here and be skynheilig and say that Karen played a big part and helped me a lot. And I thank her for that. You must always give credit where credit is due. The country is falling apart, people. You're going to see from Monday when the alcohol opens up. For those who can handle alcohol, there's nothing wrong with it. But when the bottle stores open up on Monday, you're going to see an avalanche. People who are losing their jobs and can't go to work will find money for alcohol. Alcohol sales will go up through the roof. It will cause more hell in the home if they can't control it. In the last 3 months, I don't know the stats, but this is just what I'm thinking and what I'm reading and what I'm seeing through different social media sites that I'm on about alcohol, about sobriety. How many people have relapsed? 6 years sober, 8 years sober, 10 years sober. We get into a hard time because we get complacent. And it's all dependent on our spiritual condition. If our spiritual condition is right, we are right. If we're spiritually right, we are right. There's many sacrifices in this life. I've had to sacrifice a lot. When I want to go out or I want to go to a place or I'm invited somewhere, then something would happen at the rehab. Because you're dealing with 30-odd people, all different emotions, all different opinions, all different sides of recovery. And you can't close the door at 11 o'clock. And if they knock at the door at 12:30, they better have a good reason. But if they've got a good reason, you have to sit there and listen to them. Because it's our lives we are playing with. Our country is standing on the precipice of evil. The more we're pushing God out of this country, and we always say it here, we're spiritual people, we're not hypocrites. The more we throw God out of this country, the more this country is going to go to hell. Let us make sure we're not the people who are going to accompany them. When our brother is hungry, let's feed them. When they are cold, let's clothe them. When they need love, let's love them. Our youngsters in the schools, there's a drug dealer or two in every single school. I've spoken at most schools in Cape Town. A lot of schools around the country. And it's all the same. There's drug dealers all over. Spare my feelings, save your life. Drug test your kids. Oh, they may be offended. So what happens if they're offended? You, the parent, you've got the right to drag. You're going to sit with the shit afterwards. That will go on for years and years and years. The other day we had Graham's birthday. 5 years that young boy has been with me. He's not a young boy, he's 29 years old, he's a young man. And I look at him every single day. Unfortunately, we share a room. I haven't even got my own room. That's okay. And I look at this boy and I think, God really blessed me that he can come through my hands with the grace of God. That he could come through my hands. And he's 5 years here, qualified panel beater. Girlfriend just had a baba, got a car. Okay, the car's always getting fixed, but anyway. Got a car. If anyone wants to donate to the Graham Fund to fix his car, please do, because I've donated enough. I'm not going to donate anymore, because every time I donate, then it's more and more and more and more. So if anyone wants to donate to the Graham Benevolent Car Fund, please do. And I'm sure you'll welcome any donation. And I've got Leroy here. He's been here 3 years, studying. Beautiful man. Got a mental illness. You'd never say so. Takes his meds. And he's a good boy. There's others. There's Michael, Michelle's boy. He'll come right this time. This time he will come right. Lee Jason, Angus, who's studying to be a carer now, been with me 3 years. 80, working for me outside here now. Been with me 2.5 years. Had a relapse, went home and told his mother a lot of shit, and then came back. Don't burn a bridge, that's what I'm trying to say. Freddie Cars, 6 years sober. Kyle Richardson, 7 years sober. And we still stay in contact. That is the most beautiful thing. That is the most beautiful thing that you can think of. So where to from now? It's almost 15 years. And who would have thought? A lot has crossed. A lot of bridges have been crossed. I started off RAEL, ladies and gentlemen, with a blue Nissan Bakkie and a pamphlet and a newspaper article. God is great. God could do for me what I could never do for myself. I never stole from my mother and my father. That doesn't make me a better addict or a worse addict. But I did steal something from my mother and my father, which I can never replace. And that is time. I stole time. Now with my mom at 87, very frail, and my dad passed on, I lost a lot of time with him. But today, my life is just dedicated to addiction and to give hope. Hope to the hopeless. Let our mess become a message. Let our test in life become a testimony. There's too many people in recovery who want to give up too quickly, man. They want the easier, softer way. They think because they're in recovery, everything has to go hunky-dory. It does not do that, because it doesn't go hunky-dory for anyone else in life. It does not happen. If you want this and you're willing to clean house and you're willing to carry the message, you just need 3 letters, and it's 3 words. You have to be honest, rigorous honesty. You have to be open-minded, because most of the people that come into my rehabilitation center, they've been to the moon, and the others have walked up Everest backwards because they're trying to raise their self-esteem. I will raise your self-esteem for you with the honesty and with the facts. Don't shit, with no shit. And the W is the willingness. If you're willing to want to change, you will change. But if you ain't willing, like they say about taking the horse to the water. People say I can do it on willpower. Okay. Have you ever had diarrhea? Yes. Have you ever tried willpower with diarrhea? You can't do this on your own. You need God, you need other people, you need a program, you need discipline, you need respect, you need morals, and you need values. Something our kids today have lost. I see children of 25 coming in here. They've never held a bloody screwdriver in their life. Where have they been? Lying on the couch watching and playing TV games. Or watching pornography. That is massive. That is massive in South Africa. Pornography is massive in South Africa amongst our youth. Someone just looked at me now because they thought I was talking about them. The pump specialist. So we must get real, man. We're not dealing with leprosy here. We need to abstain. Abstain and then build our life. But it's not the destination we're going on. It's this incredible journey from fogginess, drunkenness, DTs, withdrawals, to freedom. Mandela also had his walk to freedom. He must be turning in his grave at the moment to see what is happening in this country. We want to walk to freedom so we can pass on our freedom package to the next brother or sister. That is what's called carrying the message. You don't have to be an intellect. I got standard 7. Rihanna de Toy on here had got 19 A's. Is it 19 A's? 19 A's. 19 A's, a doctor, 25 degrees, whatever. I got a standard 7. But she doesn't know as much as me about addiction. But I don't know enough to be a doctor. We all got our gift. Everyone has got their gift. Everyone in this world has got a gift. Not only the alcoholic and the addict. A lot of people can learn from the alcoholic and the addict. But the problem is people are not prepared to open the gift because that takes a bit of effort. So if you open up the gift and you look inside and you say, wow, where's this gift been my whole life? Whether maybe you're an artist or maybe you're a or maybe you got a gift with animals. But the gift is always in front of us. And then when we open it, it's got a nice bow on it, all that kind of crap. And when we open it, we realize, hey, hold it. Why have I taken so long? Why have we taken so long to take a chance? If you want to get to the other side of the ocean, you must sometimes. The Titanic didn't sink because it was in rough water. The Titanic sank because the water was in the Titanic. We sink because we got drugs in us, and because we got alcohol in us, and we got holes in us, and we got everything else that goes with it. It's not just the alcohol and the drugs. It's everything that goes with it. We have to clean everything out. You can't have stinking thinking. If you're going stinking thinking and you're not using your drug and you're not using your alcohol, you're going back to your drug and your alcohol. You're going straight back there. And we don't want to go back there. And I know the men that have come through my hands that are sober don't want to go back there. And I will support them for the rest of my life. I will use whatever resources I've got to help any addict. There's over 10 people on this farm at this moment that are staying here for free. But God will provide me. I've never been one to moan about money. I know what it's like to live with money. I know what it's like to live without money. I don't know what it's like to live with money. Money just makes it easier. Money just allows you to pay for the taxi. What is money? We've seen in the last 3 months, what is money worth? We've seen the true, even with the cigarettes, we've seen the true colors of male and female, men and women. What is going to happen when there is no food in this country? This place is busy running out of food. I'm not saying that, the economists are saying it. Now, if they're going to run like that for cigarettes and for alcohol, we also ran for cigarettes. We've got NGs. Anyone want NGs can phone me. What are they going to do with food? Where's the humanity? Where's the love for one another? This country is not fucked because of any other reason. It's because we have lost the love for one another. Where is that unconditional love? Where is that love of one to another? Where is the love like the addict used to be, just to take the whole time? Instead of giving. It's in the giving, you know that we shall receive. It's in the giving. So yeah, from the park bench, I stepped in a toilet in Yilbrow that was used as a communal toilet, and I slept at night. I slept in doorways on cardboard, always covered by the Star newspaper because it was thicker, so it kept me warmer. Lived in Durban on the beach, East London, Port Elizabeth, Bloemfontein. And then I would come back as far as Beaufort West and say, no one's going to see me like this. Haven't washed for like a year and a half. No teeth in my mouth. So then I turn around at Beaufort, and when I hitchhike, in those days you can hitchhike, and you hitchhike and the outopie stops and he says, where you going, son? Want ek gaan Johannesburg toe. Ja, oom, ek gaan ook Johannesburg toe. And then I knew, okay, then at least get a trip to Johannesburg. It was walking in the dark. It was getting onto an aeroplane when they say, well, today the pilot has only got 5 days experience. Like when I saved the aeroplane coming from, with Graham the Great and Richie. I think there was someone else who helped us, but we saved when we were on an aeroplane trip coming from Israel. Those are the benefits of recovery. That I could promise Richard, become a Springbok, I'll take you overseas. I promised Graham, become a qualified panel beat, I'll take you overseas. If I didn't keep my word, what respect will those people have for me? It's about bloody respect, man. Morals, values. And anyone on this farm, whether they are 5 years sober, 10 years sober, I couldn't care. If they step out of line, they're going to be put back into line. Why? Because I love them. Only when you give them straight and put them back, that is love. Love isn't turning the other cheek in this sense of the game. Love is helping the man. Love is helping the woman. Because when you talk to someone and you correct them, that's love. I often talk with Graham and Kurt, and we sit down and we discuss strategy. We've got a team of 7. 6 stay on the farm and 1 doesn't, because they're too hearty-tarty not to stay on the farm, but that's all right, it's another story. And we'll sit down and we'll discuss what is the best interests of the farm. And I will sit and I will listen. And then we will make a collective decision that this is the best decision for the farm going forward. So it's been a long road. It's been a hard road. It's been a bumpy road. But it's been a sober, happy road. I'm living my dream. I never thought when I was a drunk and a druggie that I would one day own a rehabilitation center with no experience. I got a standard 7 and that is it. But addiction, about that. I know a bit about that. I got good men out there. I got good people out there. I got good friends out there. I saw Claire was on your air earlier, Claire Polman. Haven't seen her for years. Congratulations, Claire. I believe you turned 40 the other day or something. Or 50, can't remember. I just saw it on Facebook. Wonderful people. I've met wonderful people in this journey. I've had tea with President Ramaphosa. Okay, don't shout at me. That was before he became president. He was deputy president. Been with Musi Mamani, Patricia de Lille, Terra Lakota. I joined politics for a while and became the premier candidate for COPE, and then realized after 2 months I couldn't do both. F.W. de Klerk. Steve Swart from the ACDP, a very good friend of mine. Antoinette Steyn, our local mayor. I've met beautiful people. I've met some beautiful people around the world as well. I'd never have had the opportunity to travel. The furthest I'd ever traveled before I sobered up was Robben Island. I went overseas to Robben Island to play, I think it was to play rugby or cricket. Do I have regrets? Not really. Would I have changed anything? Yeah, I would have become a Springbok cricket player. That's what I would have changed. That's the only real regret. Nothing else. I've got a beautiful daughter who's a Springbok toe trekker or toe trek, I don't know what you even call it. I've been very lucky. I've been very lucky to survive this ordeal. And that's what I just spend my whole day, without trying to sound like a martyr, that's what I try and spend my whole day on. But the drug is getting eviler, if that's the right word, and our men are getting softer. I tell them, get a backbone, because recovery is not for sissies. If you want recovery, you must be prepared to go every single length of the way. There's no half measures. Half measures availed us nothing. We stood at the turning point. And this is the turning point we are standing at now. And a lot of addicts are standing at that turning point. For anyone listening for the first time from here in South Africa or around the world, we can all recover. Tonight was just, Kurt asked me to speak because it was a celebration night. I'd love to say one day I'd love to celebrate that our nation is drug-free. Who knows? But as long as we're going to allow our kids to walk over us, family, we're going to have problems for the rest of our lives. We have to be in charge. A kid is a kid. I see a lot of parents coming into this rehabilitation center, and I think the mother and the father are actually being booked in instead of the kid, because the kid is running the house and running the show. That's the entitlement our children have got today. That must be broken. We must go back to morals, values, respect, and discipline that I lost when I was drinking and drugging. I lost those morals. I lost those values. I lost that discipline. I lost that respect. But I had to get it all back at the end of the day. What does the future hold? We don't know. One day at a time we live this life. We travel through this world but once. There's no practice ground. This is life. I pray that I will stay sober for the rest of my life, one day at a time. I pray God will give me the energy and the finances and everything that goes with it to carry this message to the still suffering addict and alcoholic, no matter where they are. Thank you, God, for giving me the privilege so far of doing this. It's very difficult work. You can ask Kurt, but it's very rewarding when I see the successes of the people that leave this center. I'd say just to close off here, I was getting a bit lumpy in my throat. I don't want to see everyone, a tear in my eye. But I've cried a lot. I've cried a lot more in sobriety than, because the dronk verdriet was when I was singing My Way. I used to go to karaoke. God, I think you were there as well. I used to go to karaoke, and my dad's favorite song was My Way. So I would be pissed here at about 11:30 and tell her, okay, now it's time for Frankie Sinatra to hit the road. Time for me to sing, bro, put it on. And then I get on the stage and sing My Way. And I'm trying now, just moving, dronk verdriet, singing My Way. Okay, I missed most of the song. But I thought I was Frank Sinatra live in Japan. The rewards of recovery. Today I'm financially stable. I was lucky enough to go to the Rugby World Cup in Japan on my own in Tokyo. Didn't pick up any hookers, because the first thing I would have done if I was drinking, I would have got drunk and then looked for hookers and then looked for a place to go and gamble. Remember, it all works together. It's like a trust. But I went there, I behaved myself, I had a ball. I spent, I'm not allowed it. a birthday present, I don't think, for the next 15 years. But I had a ball. I just let my hair down and said, hey, I'm going to enjoy Japan. I've been 3 times to Israel. I'm not bragging now. This is the rewards of sobriety. I've been to Bali. I've been to Australia. And 1 or 2, Singapore. I've been to Portugal. Went to go see what was my main reason to go to Portugal was to see what they were doing with their druggers and their addicts. So yeah, been very blessed. But the biggest blessing I've like I told you, I've met someone, and I'm very happy. And sometimes things just don't work out with a partner. You know, that's why they have divorces. Doesn't make me any different. But I'm not going to run Karen down ever. But I'm very happy in what I've got now. And I've always only just wished her Godspeed. That she can continue and find love like I have. Friends, as we close down on this evening, we're going to now give our evening meeting to the members. I just again want to close. I close all my meetings wherever I've been around the world with the word grace. Thanks for indulging me on a bit of a memory lane without having to talk about the drunken past and all the things that we did, because that is so well documented that we'll keep that for another time again. Obviously, I want to thank my manager, Kurt, and the people that are walking the road with me, my management team, Graham, Leroy, Angus, AD. I think I probably left someone out, but it's all right. And but mainly Kurt, because I've seen the man and I've known the man for so many years, and today he's just an amazing star. Amazing. I end with the word grace. The G, the gratitude that us online, all around the world could meet tonight. Thank you. The gratitude to be 14 years, 11 months sober. I never thought I'd ever get there. Don't be in a hurry to get there, people. For those who are in recovery, enjoy the journey. The gratitude to be happy. The gratitude to have my mother here. Have Mama Bear here. The R is respect. Respecting everyone here and respecting everyone who comes in my path. But don't play with us because you think we are sober now. We're not doormats. You don't forget what you know. Treat us with respect, we treat you with respect. Don't think you can get slim. Self-respect. I want to be clean and neat and tidy and not walk in the same shoes and the same clothes for a year. The A is the acceptance. I accept that I'm an alcoholic, saved by grace. If I pick up a drink, I'm gone. I'm 1 arm length away from alcohol. Dependent on my spiritual condition. Call me Kurt, please. Depending on my spiritual condition. My spiritual condition is right, I'm going to stay sober for the rest of my life. The C is the courage to change. And that's where I want more of our men and our women to decide, let me grow a bit of balls, let me get some courage, and let me want to change my life. Get courage, man. And especially to our men. Grow up, get a backbone, run the house, look after your woman, look after your children, look after your job, because you're the man of the house. Unless you want the woman to become the man of the house, which we see so often. And the E is the empathy. The empathy for the still suffering addict alcoholic. The empathy for the still suffering mother and father and brother and sister of the still suffering alcoholic and addict. Keep them in prayer. With Christ, all things are possible. Philippians 4 verse 13 says, I can do all things through Christ Jesus who strengthens me. And we need the strength to go over. What is happening now in the country with the lockdown? We leave that in God's hands. We'll be vocal, we'll be activists, we'll say what we've got to say when we've got the facts, but we will never surrender. We will never surrender to any human being on this earth besides God. We will stand up as South Africans, and we will stand up what we believe in, and our men will be there, and we will never surrender. And when you feel like surrendering, read the Bible, and then go to my hero and go Google the quotes of Winston Churchill. And he'll tell you about surrendering and not surrendering. So thank you very much for... It wasn't really a recovery meeting tonight. It was more just of a walk down the road of what RAEL has achieved. And you know, as I said, for the people who weren't probably on earlier, that we started World Addiction Day, we started World Day of Prayer 10 years ago, we started RAEL Orange Friday, we've talked all around the world virtually, giving speeches on addiction all around South Africa. So I reckon in 13 years we've kind of done well. Thank you, God, for entrusting me with that duty. And I hope I never fail you. And I hope I continue to have the strength and the courage to continue doing what I love. And I love helping people wanting to find recovery. I have got no time for people who want to stuff around. Life is too short. Life is too short. Okay, so if you can just hang on for 1 second. Where's Kurt? Kurt just wants to speak to you. All you lovely people. Kurt wants to just say a couple of words, but thank you very much for indulging me. I love you, and God bless you, and may He keep you. Oh, thank you.
All right. So sometimes things get said that we don't like. Sometimes things get said that we like. But what I like about here is that the truth is being told, and that's ultimately what keeps us sober and helps us to get sober, and telling it like it is. I hope that that's inspired some people, and yeah, no, definitely I've met some good people along the way, and it's always very difficult to speak after Mr. Hall speaks, and that is the story, and that is what it is. And each night you can catch bits and pieces of something, and whether you watch for an hour or whether you watch for 5 minutes, you might just hear something that could help you. And we don't have much else to do during lockdown anyways. So share if you care. How does that saying go? Share if you care, or sharing is caring. And yeah, we do our best to be better than what we were yesterday. All right, so thank you all for joining and watching and supporting, and everybody that keeps us in prayer and does what they do for us. And hopefully we'll be seeing some of you guys when the lockdown is lifted to a certain extent. And that's what it is. God bless you all. Love you all. Not like love, but the love that a person should have for another human being. And we'll probably see you tomorrow night. All right. God bless. It's pretty cold. Sleep warm as well. And keep warm. And look after each other. All right. Thank you.